here to share his October 7th story. And the first time I ever heard an October 7th survivor, it was about a few months ago over the summer, and it was really, really moving. And it was the first time that I really felt like I could understand what was happening there. I visited the site of the Nova massacre this summer, and I understood where everything had happened, and it was moving, but also very hard to hear and really haunted me. And I think that we're really fortunate to be able to hear from someone themselves who's there. Firsthand experiences are really important, and it's amazing that Hamilton has this time to welcome Eitan. So, Eitan, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here tonight and sharing my story with you. It's the first time, so I hope it'll be okay. We all sit here tonight, different ages, different upbringings, different life experiences. Yet, despite those differences, we all sit here together. I want you to think about the one life experience that has the biggest impact on where you are and who you are today. October 7th, 2023. I glanced down at my phone.
Is the sound okay? No.
I knew the sun was about to peak over the horizon. At festivals,
para mí no está bien.
Sunrise is
¿Tú sí lo oyes, Karen?
You start to see everyone's faces. And there's this overwhelming feeling of love and peace in the air. It's the moment that defines the festival, the memory that lasts forever. A few friends and I started walking towards the stage, almost exactly at the same time as the sun started rising over the horizon, providing an incredible background to what was supposed to be a morning full of celebration and dancing. We felt the beat of the music in our chest as we got closer to the stage, when suddenly everything stopped. The music cut off. Confused, I looked around and saw everyone pointing their phones at the sky. I turned and I see a massive barrage of rockets coming from Gaza, just a short distance away. Smoke trails streak across the sky towards us. The Iron Dome fired, intercepting as many rockets as it could, exploding midair. Some people thought it was fireworks, but living through something like this before, I knew exactly what was happening. Or at least I thought I did. Believing the attack would end soon, I remained calm. I waited for the music to return, for the dancing to continue. But the music didn't return that day, and the dancing didn't continue. I had no idea that within a few hours, I'd be living hell on earth. I had no idea that within minutes, I'd be fighting for my life. I had no idea that from that moment on, my world and my life would never be the same. I was born in Burlington, Vermont, and lived there till the age of 3. After that, I moved to Rochester, New York, and I was there till I was 7. At that point, my family came to the conclusion that they wanted to move back to Israel. My parents, as children, moved to Israel and came back to the US to look for a better life. Yet, despite the challenges that they had there in Israel, the reason that they came to the US, they moved back. Moving to Israel wasn't easy. Big change, everything's different. The kids there are not so nice. It was a big shock for me. It took some time, but eventually I got used to it, started feeling like home as well. like all Israeli kids, at the age of 18, I got drafted to the IDF. I served in Field Brigade, a unit that specializes in counterterrorism and urban warfare. After basic training and advanced training, I was selected to go to Commander's Course, a course that would teach me how to command my own soldiers. But the course didn't last long. Only after a few weeks, an operation was set off, Operation Brother's Keeper, in the spring of 2014, after 3 teenagers who were hitchhiking home from school got kidnapped by Hamas terrorists. This set off a chain of events. The whole country was looking for them. It was crazy. It made no sense. We finally found them, and all 3 of them were murdered just for being Jewish. No other reason. This set off Operation Protective Edge. It would be my first time actually being in some kind of situation of war. This is the first time I went to Gaza. I was there for only a few days. This was my introduction to war, terrorism, but also to brotherhood and the strength of our people. After the operation, I went back to my unit to conclude my army service. Prior to the Noah Festival, a few months, me and my friends were just looking for something fun to do. We didn't really want anything. We're not big festival go-getters. We don't go out all the time. But we don't really have money to go to a festival abroad or to something really, really big. So we were just looking for something local in Israel. And then suddenly one of my friends sent in our WhatsApp group, the Nova Festival. It wasn't too expensive. It seemed that like it was supposed to be nice. We knew some of the DJs. So we all bought tickets, completely unaware of what would happen from doing that specific thing. We were all very excited for the Noah Festival. We just couldn't wait for it. So on the morning of the Noah Festival, we were all just hanging out together, trying to pass the time. This festival was supposed to be a goodbye party to some of my friends. It was our last year at university, like a lot of you. And we were just counting down the minutes till we could actually leave and drive to the festival itself. When the time finally came, I got in the car with 2 other of my friends, and we started driving. On the way to the festival, I looked out the window, and I realized that we're really close to the Gaza border. And I thought to myself, wow, it's crazy how we live so close to each other, but we have such different lives. We grew up in one way, they grew up in a totally different way. We arrived at the Nova Festival, met some of our other friends, pitched our tents, started drinking, laughing, just enjoying each other's company. For the first few hours of the festival, everything seemed perfect. Then came the rockets. After a few minutes, we understood we can't stay there. So we hid for a little bit longer, hoping the music would come back, but we knew that wasn't going to happen. Until finally, a security guard and a police officer came up to us, told us, listen, guys, you have to leave at this minute right now. It's too dangerous. You can't stay here. The danger wasn't specifically because of the rockets themselves. There is a big danger that a rocket will fall, but the Iron Dome most of the time shoots them down. The shrapnel that falls from these rockets, that's the big danger. all of a sudden a 50-pound piece of steel can fall down from the sky and you don't understand from where it came from. So we all left towards our car, packed our stuff up. I got in the car with 3 other friends. I got into the back seat. It was Shani, Itai, Amit, and I. We get in the car and we try to leave the Nova Festival. Now, it was built in a way where you have the road, and then to get into the Nova Festival, the area itself was closer to the road, and you have to go around it, and that's where we parked our car. So we're all sitting in our car, we start driving towards the exit, and there's this crazy traffic jam. You can't move, you can't go anywhere. And I remember just sitting there and looking out the window and being like, damn, I can't believe that this just happened and the festival's over. So we're sitting there for about 15 minutes until finally someone yells to us, there's an exit on the other side. We turn around and we start driving, but that wasn't much better. Little did we know, the thing that was actually causing the traffic jam was terrorists on the street, the very road that we were trying to get to, that were just shooting innocent people, confused that they didn't understand what was happening. Think about it, they were trying to leave a festival. They get to the road, and then they realize that they're stuck because terrorists are there shooting them. They don't know why. They don't understand what they did. They just came to have a good time. So we got fed up. We didn't know that they were terrorists at this time. We got fed up, and we just drove through the fields, got to the road at the end, and we started to drive towards Kibbutz Reim, back home. On the way to Kibbutz Reim, we hear the sirens blaring. When you hear the sirens in this area, it doesn't take long. It can be anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds, and a rocket will fall very close to you. So we heard the sirens, and I saw on the side of the road a concrete structure known as a migunit. This structure is built to protect people from rockets. It won't sustain a direct hit, but it will save you from shrapnel. So we get into this concrete structure. It's a tiny place. There really isn't too much room to move in there. And there's already like 15 people inside. We were very confused. We didn't even know that there was anything that is serious happening. We just thought it was rocket fire. It's pretty normal in Israel. Every year or two, Hamas breaks the ceasefire and starts firing at us. And then you just go down into your bomb shelter, you wait a few minutes, and you come back up. It's happened to me many times before. This is the reality that we lived through for years. So we're in the shelter, and more people start coming in. Until one point, Anil Shapira and Hirsch Goldberg Poland come in. Anil walks in, and he introduced himself. He says, I'm an off-duty soldier. I came to the festival to have a good time like everyone else. My friends are posted about 30 minutes away. Terrorists have invaded Israel. There's nowhere to go. We have to stay here. They're nowhere near us right now, but I'll keep you guys updated. Don't worry. As the time goes by, more and more people start coming in, until at one point a couple comes in, and they come in completely panicking, scared out of their minds. We asked them what happened, and they told us that they continued driving down the road, the one that we were supposed to go on. And terrorists came out of nowhere and started shooting their car. They had to turn around. They barely got away with their lives. Their car they were able to come back to the bomb shelter, and then their car died. They told us there's nowhere to go. This is the only safe place we can be. We have to wait for the authorities. Now at this point, I don't even know what to do. I'm scared, I'm panicking. I don't know if I should leave or if I should stay. I don't know what the smart thing to do. But I decided to stay with my friends. A few minutes after they came in and told us what happened, you hear trucks pull. Now the bomb shelter, Migunit, is built in a way where you have a small hallway in, and then you have to take a left to the safe area. Anel, he was standing at the entrance, and he was giving us updates what was happening. He told us. Trucks pulled up, Hamas terrorists came out. They're wearing black uniforms, bulletproof vests, they have AK-47s and RPGs. This is the time, guys, we're gonna have to fight for our lives. I don't understand what's happening. I'm in disbelief. I'm not sure if it's a nightmare, if this is real. I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand how something like this can happen in Israel. We have such a misconception that it's impossible, like something like this will happen, if the terrorists will invade Israel. It's unheard of, it's unspoken. There was a Muslim man in the bomb shelter with us, an Arab Israeli. And he thought by going out, he could talk to them and maybe save us. He yelled out, "I'm Muslim. I'm coming out, don't shoot." We later learned he was beaten to death. We have videos of it, seeing it was horrible. Moments later, the terrorists opened fire at the entrance. And then we hear this noise, cling, cling, cling. It was a grenade. They started throwing grenades at us. And Daniel, brave as ever, grabs it, picks it up, just throws it out. Boom! And then he tells us, the terrorists are throwing grenades. If you see one, pick it up and throw it out. Or point it out for someone else who can throw it out. At this point, I'm like, whoa, what? How is this even possible? But I snap out of it quickly, I pull out my phone, and I start calling the police. I call the fire department as well. And I tell them, we're outside Kibbutz Sarim. There are armed terrorists outside. They're shooting at us, and they're throwing grenades. But they keep giving us the same answers, or asking me the same questions. Are you safe? Can you hide anywhere? They just didn't understand what was happening. And this goes on for a while. They keep on throwing grenades, and Daniel, brave as ever, just picks them up and throws them out. When they speak about Jewish heroes, warriors, they talk about people like Daniel Shapiro. Now this goes on for a few minutes. I think it was anywhere between 7 to 8 grenades that he was able to throw out. Every time they throw it in, he picks it up, throws it out. I think it was 1 or 2. I was able to point them out for him. I was standing right next to him. They were landing right between his legs. And I have my phone in my hand. I'm talking to the cops also. Then I hear a boom at the entrance. I feel something hit my hand really hard, like a whip snapping or something. My eardrums pop, leaving me with a ringing noise that I have till this day. I look at my phone. I see the screen was shattered. I tried to hang up, but I realized the screen was also broken. That's when I released my phone and I prepared myself, because I knew if I wasn't gonna fight, I was gonna die in it. So we keep on fighting with them. They're throwing in grenades, we throw them out. I think it was the 9th grenade. Anil wasn't able to pick up. Then boom, I go flying back, hit my head on the wall. Someone lands on me, and I pass out. I don't remember exactly how long I was out. I think it was only a couple seconds. But as I'm coming back to it, I look over the entrance, and I see Hirsch Goldberg Poland sitting there. His hand was blown clean off. A piece of bone was sticking out. Fibers of skin and muscle were hanging off. He wasn't scared. He wasn't panicking. He's just tying off his arm and repeating, I don't have a hand. I don't have a hand. Another warrior, hero, doing what needs to be done to survive this horrible attack. And then someone says, there's a dead guy over here. It was Aner. Our protector lay dead at the entrance. I find myself standing exactly where he was moments before. Now, one of the things that went through my mind while he was throwing out the grenades was, wow, this kid's a hero. I can't believe he's doing this. This is unspoken. I've never heard of anyone that has ever done something like this. But then again, I also thought there's a big chance he's not going to make it out of this. What he's doing is extremely dangerous. One little mistake and that's it. And I also started getting comfortable with the idea that if he dies, I may need to continue what he started. And then I find myself standing where he is, and I know the next grenade that comes in, I'm gonna have to pick up and throw out, or at least die trying. And as I thought, something lands at my feet. I look down, and I see a grenade with a flame about this tall coming out. And I'm staring at it, and the flame's getting shorter and shorter. And I know if it goes out, it's gonna go off. I will die, and maybe others will. I reach down, pick it, and throw it out. I don't remember exactly how I threw out all three grenades. I remember the first one, and I remember the last one. What happened with the last one was they came to the conclusion that if they throw more than one grenade at a time, they may have more success. And that's what they did. Two terrorists came very close as they were shooting at the entrance, so we couldn't pop our heads out to look what was to see what was happening. One threw a grenade that bounced off the wall and landed deep in the crowd. Another one landed at my feet. The one at my feet picked up and threw out. And as I'm turning around, I start yelling, grenade, grenade, boom. A powerful force lifted me off my feet and threw me against the wall. I bashed my head on the concrete wall for a second time and passed out again. I was able to open my eyes for a moment to look at the entrance. And I see a terrorist walk in who had a black uniform, a green bandana on his head, an AK-47 slung over his shoulder, and he was smiling like he won some kind of game, like it was some justice to kill innocent civilians, like it was some godly thing. He walks in, he points his AK-47 at Hirsch Goldberg Poland's head while he's sitting there wounded without a hand. Hirsch starts getting up, and I close my eyes again. Moments later, I feel one of them standing over me, grabs me by my hair, shakes me to see if I'm alive. I think someone moved behind him, or I looked like I was dead. Very, very possible. He lets go of me, turns around, and left me for dead. The terrorists came in and they took out 5 people, and my friend Amit, who was the 6th. They took them all out, loaded them onto the trucks, and then came back in, started screaming Allahu Akbar and unloading their magazines into my innocent friends while they were screaming and begging for their lives. I was passed out at that time. I didn't even know it was happening. As I'm coming back to it, I open my eyes. I realize I'm sitting in a pile of bodies. I didn't know at the moment that everyone was dead. I thought they were just playing dead. I thought they were just acting like they were unconscious because they thought that's what would help, would make sure that the terrorists left them alone. A few minutes passed, and I start seeing a few people pick up their heads. Now I'm sitting there, I'm covered in people. I can't feel my legs. I'm not even sure if they're still there. I saw someone's hand blown off a few minutes ago. So I start patting down my body and seeing that everything's still there. I pat down my shoulders, my arms, my face. And I get down to my legs. I finally get them out and I feel them and I see that they're still there. I look around, see pools of blood everywhere, pieces of people all over the wall, acrid smell in the air. These visions and smell haunt me to this day. When I go to sleep, I relive them. We sat in that concrete shelter for 7 hours. As I'm getting up and I realize what's happening around me, and I see how many people are still alive, I realize that there's only 7 people that are not injured in such a way where they're about to die. Others were in critical condition. But we couldn't make any noise. We couldn't move. We couldn't go outside. The terrorists were still out there. We heard gunfire and explosions, screaming in Arabic. And at that time, there were people that were critically injured, sitting there and begging for help. I heard people breathing their last breath, and I knew that I couldn't do anything about it, because if I moved and made just too much noise, someone would come back in and finish the job. Out of 29 people that went into that concrete shelter, 5 were kidnapped to Gaza, 1 murdered on the way because he tried to jump off the truck, another murdered seconds before the IDF reached him. That was Hirsch Goldberg Poland, a hero hanging on to life as long as he could because he knew how important it was. Another 7 of us were rescued back to Beersheba, to the hospital of Soroka. And 17 people were murdered there that day. 17 people. I don't know if any of you can imagine it, walking into some room, about 30 people, and only walking out with 7. Out of those 17 people, 2 of my friends, Shani Kupelwasser and Itai Banjo, were murdered there that day. As we sit there, after 7 hours, we finally hear a voice. Is there anyone in here? Is anyone still alive? And that's when we saw our savior, a civilian named Eyal. He popped in his head. He called his friends who came and took us out of there. The reason that he was looking in these concrete shelters for survivors was because his son was at the festival as well. He was looking for his son. like any good father would do. But he found us. We later learned that his son was in a concrete shelter nearby us. He was there with 3 other friends, 2 of them girls, himself and another guy. When the terrorists came, his son and his friend said, it'd be better if we go out and fight them and them not coming in. And they saved those 2 girls just by doing that. Just a short month after October 7th, I started working. I came to the conclusion that if I get back to life, I'll be able to continue on, to forget what happened, to heal, to get back to myself. But it was just unfulfilling. I found myself sitting at a desk writing code and just not enjoying it, feeling empty, feeling just out of it. Like it had nothing to do with anything. Around that time, an Israeli TV channel approached me. And they asked me if I could share my story in a documentary, We Will Dance Again. At the beginning, I was apprehensive. I'm not really a guy that would stand up and talk in front of people. This is very unnatural for me. I'm doing. But after a while, I came to the conclusion that it's important enough to get this story out there. Story about Anir and Hirsch and all the rest of the 29 people that were there. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna tell everyone what happened. I'm gonna try to do my best. After I saw the movie, I understood why I survived. It wasn't to save myself. It wasn't to save the people that was with me. It was to spread the story, to get the word out there, to make sure everyone heard what happened. To hear about Anir Shapira, the lion and the hero he was, the moments of his greatness. And Hirsch Goldberg Poland, and how he hung on to life in the darkest hours. This is the new reality for all of us. Can't stand here, just be quiet and lie down and die. We can't let people run us over and do whatever they want. We have to stand up and fight. Because if we don't, no one's going to protect us. No one's going to come and save us. We all need to pick up the grenades that are hurled at us at life and throw them back. Anil didn't do it for himself. He didn't do it for the glory. He didn't do it because he hated the terrorists. He did it because he just wanted to save people. The most important thing to him was to save our lives. And he was willing to give his life just to save others. And that's the mentality that we need to install in our own minds and in our friends and in our children and our grandchildren. We have to stand up and fight. We can't just lie down and die. We've seen what happens. It doesn't work out for us. Stand here before you today, a new man. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you very much.
stand up and ask your question.
Not all at once.
How do you see the journey continuing here for you? And how you continue this in spreading awareness? And how do you suggest we, not in Israel, but here in New York, what can we do to help the situation?
So for me, what I feel like the best thing that I can do is really get in front of as many people and just share my story and try to not per se convince people, but just stand witness to what actually happened on October 7th. Because the things I saw there, it's really hard to get out there. One amazing way that you can get the awareness of October 7th out there really is the documentary We Will Dance Again. If you haven't seen it, I think you should. It's not an easy movie to watch, but it really shows what happened. It shows from the point of views of the people that went to the party. It shows from the point of views of the terrorists. There's a few stories from different people, and it really gives you the big picture of what happened there that day. Besides that, I would say just I think social media is like the best way these days. I think that's the war that we're really losing, because everyone's posting stuff and it's really hard to understand what's real and what's not anymore.
Like sharing your story, is there anything that you learned that you'd like to do?
Wasn't easy. Today specifically, the speech was not supposed to go exactly like this, but I feel like when it comes from the heart, it's a lot better a lot of times. It was really hard at the beginning. Really, really hard telling people what happened and explaining to them and trying to really get them into the moment and to understand what's happening. And I felt uncomfortable doing it because to try to explain what happened to me, I have to get into graphic details all the time. And it's really hard to hear this stuff. Even then, sitting in that bomb shelter, I remember thinking to myself, after the attack was done, I was sitting there just waiting for someone to come and save me. I'm probably gonna have post-trauma after this, and I'm gonna have to learn how to live with it. And I wouldn't want that for anyone else.
I think people in Israel, I think the people in Israel and people in general, they don't want to move on from this and take it.
I don't think anyone can move on per se. I think that without getting the hostages back, we're always going to be scarred. We can't move on without that happening, and we can't start healing and coping. One of the hardest things for me, especially being in Israel today, is we're still at war. Like, I've been woken so many times from sirens blaring that there's a rocket being fired close to my area and that I need to get into a safe zone. It's just, it's crazy. The one thing that Israelis do have is a Teflon mentality. Nothing sticks to them. They just keep on going no matter what. You'll hear a rocket going off, everyone will run to a bomb shelter. Then 10 minutes after, they just go back to work like everything's normal. Because that's the mentality that we grew up in. We're used to it. It's I think a question that could be very similar to that one is, how did the Jewish people move on from the Holocaust? And I guess building a country was one of it. So finding a place to stay, somewhere that we could be safe. But on October 7th, we learned that we're not safe. So that's a really hard question to answer.
How do we find a way of balancing the atrocities of the past and building a better future for everybody?
Well, we have to learn from our mistakes. We have to learn from our mistakes and move forward, and not go backwards. And I think it's starting to happen. It may take some more time, but I think we're getting there. I think in general, the Jews are learning how in just a split second everyone can flip on them and be against them, and we know what happens where that goes. We already saw that happen in the past, and we just have to learn from our mistakes.
There's one message that you want for someone to take away from tonight. What would that be for us to like think about and to try and sit with?
Stand up and fight, man. Don't wait for someone to come and save you. No one's gonna come. It's your responsibility to do whatever you can. I think the story itself also really talks to that specific message. That's the way I see it. When you hear about people that in one way are waiting for authorities to come and save them, but just like fighting and just buying as much time as possible, and just stand up and fight, man.
We're gonna sing a song for peace together. If you know the song, sing along.